While Peter Parker is the main hero of the Spider-Man saga, MJ has been the beloved constant through comics, cartoons, and film franchises. The 2002 Spider-Man film features Kirsten Dunst as MJ, but the creators of Spider-Man Homecoming went with a new take on MJ by creating Michelle Jones, played by Zendaya. These two heroines are very different from each other, yet both play a very important part of Peter Parker's life and just in the story. There's a 15 gap between these movies, and since then there's been major shifts in female empowerment, gender equality, and female portrayals in movies. We've talked about gender stereotypes in class. As a feminist and lifelong Spider-Man fan, I've asked myself the question, how empowered is Kirsten versus Zendaya's MJ? I looked into these 4 films and compiled data about 3 attributes of female empowerment: agency, confidence, and self-expression. I also looked into sex appeal and just their background. As a disclaimer, both first movies put their MJs in very different spots. The original Spider-Man opens up with a close-up of MJ's face as Tobey Maguire narrates that this story is about her. To contrast, Spider-Man Homecoming creators deliberately place Zendaya in the background of the plot. She goes by Michelle, and it's not revealed until the end that she wants to go by MJ. Michelle and Peter's romance doesn't truly start until Spider-Man Far From Home. However, a closer look at the film shows that Zendaya is going to be a bigger part of Peter's life. She's in the background of multiple scenes, making snarky comments and just being her. So, to start off with agency, Kirsten has big dreams. She wants to be an actress. However, she feels restricted by her family and background. She grows and has the biggest independent decision when she ditches her wedding and goes to Peter, telling him, "Can't you respect me enough to make my own decisions?" While Kirsten makes her own decisions, Zendaya's character is especially focused on being independent and self-sufficient. She purposely goes against the status quo and does her own thing. She also has multifaceted interests and talents. As mentioned before, Kirsten is an actress, but it's interesting seeing in Spider-Man Homecoming as Zendaya participates in the decathlon and science projects and sketches and constantly reads. In terms of confidence, Kirsten really struggles in the first film. She has a hard time making eye contact, she makes jokes about her appearance, and just seems to really doubt herself and her image. However, in Spider-Man 2, she begins to become more confident in her acting and modeling career. This contrasts with Zendaya, who is confident in her own decisions and doesn't care what other people think. In terms of self-expression, both actually struggle to be authentic and vulnerable with people, but in different ways. Kirsten really is able to tell Peter how she feels and is honest in her feelings for him. To contrast with that, Zendaya really struggles to tell Peter how she feels. However, Zendaya is bluntly honest. She is a social activist, she calls people out on their BS, and she's very observant on lots of different things. She even says in the end of Far From Home, "I'm obsessed with telling the truth, even if it hurts other people's feelings."
You look really pretty.
And therefore I have value?
No, that's not what I meant at all.
I'm messing with you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You look pretty too.
Thank you.
It's also interesting to look into how these two characters defend themselves at the action scenes. Women are often depicted as the victims. George Gerbner has said that these sorts of systematic distortions communicate a strong message about who has power in culture. While both MJs are targeted by Spider-Man's enemies, the films depict the characters' responses in different ways. Now, of course, these scenarios are different. Who wouldn't be screaming when you're on top of a ledge? But the film gives Zendaya the space and the screen time to be resourceful, smart, and be able to fight back It's interesting to look at the culmination of agency, confidence, and self-expression in MJ's interactions with Flash, the quintessential bully. In the 4 scenes where Flash blatantly bullies Peter, Zendaya stands up to him 3 out of 4 times. That other scene where she doesn't, she's not seen in it, so we're not sure if she's actually there. She's able to, but most of the time she's able to say some snarky comment and disarm Flash and stand up for Peter. To contrast, Kirsten stands up for Peter 1 out of 3 times. Of course, this is different, seeing that Kirsten is dating Flash at the time. But it's interesting to look at the many times where Flash says something rude or trips Peter, and Kirsten looks upset but does nothing. In terms of fashion, it's interesting to look that Kirsten tends to have the perfect hair, makeup on, usually a low-cut shirt. She also wears brighter colors that make her stand out. It's interesting to look at the contrast with Zendaya, who is a model and fashion star, yet the directors put her in more darker colors and things that she's usually covered up in more. She also wears more clothes that have feminist undertones to them. She has a Joan of Arc shirt, a Votes for Women, and a Poet shirt. Looking at for strength of youth standards, Kirsten tends to have a lot higher amount of outfits that are low-cut, tight-fitting, or short. Zendaya is 0 for low-cut and tight-fitting, but for the one outfit where she has, it's for gym shorts for PE. In the end, Zendaya's character resembles the female empowerment values of today. She's smart, resourceful, independent. Kirsten's character struggles with confidence and image in the first film, but becomes more empowered in the second. Overall, the directors of Spider-Man Far From Home and Homecoming purposely created a multifaceted heroine who is outright empowered and completely herself. She is a strong character in Homecoming as a love interest in Far From Home. She shows that you don't have to have your hair done or dress a certain way to have a superhero love you. You can be completely and utterly your quirky self. In the end, both are imperfect heroines who have to grow and learn to be vulnerable with others. They both care for Peter deeply, and most importantly, they each have their own distinct personalities. So in the end, who are we to say which girl is better?